Hello, sparrows. Let's talk about carrots. Why not? So someone messaged, thank you, to say I have not put vegetables in my hair for a while. So I looked in the fridge and realized I have not put carrots in my hair. So let's put carrots in my hair. And I chose a carrot-inspired costume because it's such a bleak grey day. Again, I decided to let's celebrate and put on some celebratory clothes, and let's put carrots in our hair because why not? They're great for putting in hair because you can wind them around like the bananas, the banana episode, and the paper, toilet paper holders, rolls. I cannot talk today. What's going on? I don't know if that's going to stay. Woo! Lost a carrot. Oh no. So while we're talking about carrots, do you know that when you grow carrots, have you ever grown carrots? Well, if you have, you will know that you have to have sandy soil because let me just show you a second, get my carrot secure. This is the root of the plant. So this is the root of the carrot. So this is actually feeding the leaves that come out of the top, the carrot tops. So this is under the ground and this is the root. So you have to have sandy soil around it so it can grow nice and juicy and big. If you plant carrots in really hard soil, especially with clay, they can't expand and get very big. So you have very, very, very thin carrots and probably not very many leaves. And carrots like to get nice and big and juicy. So make sure you have sandy soil for your carrots when you grow your carrots. I hope you try to grow carrots because they're delicious. And rabbits really... Oh, wow, I might be losing a lot of carrots in this episode. Okay, the other thing I wanted to talk about was moonstone, because look what I found. Oh, I can't stand up for some reason. When I was going through all of the boxes and things that I had to bring home from packing up the nest, I found this lovely, lovely necklace, and it has like a little hinge, and there's a little moonstone inside. And it's beautiful. I love it. If it's yours and you've lost it, I will keep it for you until we see each other again. And I'll just have it forever. So if you have lost it, let me know. Moonstone is really good for calming people down. It makes you feel connected to the moon and the cycles of the moon, and it's very beautiful. And imagine the beautiful light of the moon is with you. That's why it's so calming. Okay, so carrots are in the hair. I've lost a carrot. That's fine. My dog likes to eat carrots. So I thought we'd bring back this method of earring wearing. If you do not have pierced ears, you can just put some yarn or wool and then put it over the top of your ear. Whoa! Everything's falling off today. What is going on? Come on. Let's find some Pippi spirit in there somewhere. Okay, there we are. And some cherries so that I really look like a fruit salad. Okay, there we are. Now we're ready. So I was going to start to read The Enchanted Wood, and then I just felt that I needed a little bit more Pippi today because it's a rainy grey day and I wasn't ready quite yet to move on from Pippi. So here we are. Pippi spirit. Get your carrot selves ready. Let's have our special tea, our thimble tea. What kind of tea shall we have today? Let's have some carrot growing tea because it's a carrot kind of a day. And let's make sure we have sandy soil and some lovely fresh compost that you've dug up from the back of your garden that's been getting nice and juicy since last year. Let's have some rabbit hops, but we'll ask the rabbits not to nibble on the leaves until the carrots have grown a bit bigger. And we'll share our carrot tops with the rabbits. So some rabbit hops, and we ought to put something really yummy, some cinnamon, just because it's spicy and also begins with the letter C. Why not? Mix it all together with some moonstone energy. So nice and calm. Here we are for you. Cheers. Some carrot tea for you. Oh, that moonstone, that just does the trick. Some carrot tea for me. Let's get our little feather totems and we will fill these with love and hugs for all of the people and all of the creatures and all of the beings in the world who would like some extra squeezes today. Sending love and hugs wherever they need to go. Off you go. Woo! There they go. Going to do their calming magic. So, are you sitting comfortably? Are you in your comfy spot? Are you ready to see what Pippi might do next? So we've moved on to Pippi in the South Seas. And I just would like to remind you that I do edit the words quite a lot. So if you are thinking of finding some Pippi books to read, you will see there are parts that need to just be taken out. And if Astrid Lindgren was still alive, I would love to have had a chat with her because things have changed a lot since she wrote them. So I have taken some bits out and just embellished the rest. I don't add anything too much else of my own. I just make it more of a modern day Pippi. Basically, what I take out is the adults who don't speak very nicely to children. I take all of that out because guess what? We are always going to speak nicely to children because children are fantastic. And they're so wise, and we really need to know all about your wonderful wisdom. Thank you for being you. Thank you. Ready? Okay, here we go. Okay, you got your tea, you're sitting comfortably. Chapter 1 is called Villa Vellicula, which I think I'm starting to say correctly now. The little Swedish town was very picturesque. So this is the town that Pippi lives in, of which I'm not sure the name of the town. I just know the name of the house. So the little Swedish town was very picturesque, with its cobblestone streets, its tiny houses, and the gardens that surrounded them. And everyone who visited there must have felt that this would be a calm and restful place to live. As far as tourist attractions went, well, there really wasn't very much to see. There was a museum and a cemetery, and really that was all. There was one more thing, but I'm going to get to that shortly. The people of the little town had neatly and carefully put up signs to show visitors the way to the museum and the cemetery. There was a third sign in very crooked letters, and you can imagine what that sign said. Villa Vellicula. That was the third sign. So, one beautiful summer day, a man came driving through the town. He lived in a much bigger town, and therefore he considered himself finer and more distinguished than any of the people who lived in small towns. So he also had a very fine car, and he thought he was a very grand person with shoes that were polished until they shined, and he had a big gold ring on his finger. Nothing like a carrot ring, no. So it was perhaps not so strange that he thought himself to be in charge of everything wherever he went. And when he drove through the streets, he honked on his horn, honk, 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 so loudly that everyone would notice him as he went by. He probably wanted everyone to see that he was in town. And when the fine gentleman saw the signposts, he laughed heartily to himself. Oh, to the museum. Why would I want to go to a museum, he said to himself. To the cemetery. No, who would want to go to a cemetery, he said. And then he saw another sign. And he said, things are getting better and better around here. What on earth does that sign say? It says Villa Vellicula. He thought about this for a moment. A villa. A villa could hardly be a tourist attraction in the same way that a museum or a cemetery was. So what on earth can a villa be? I am going to fix that carrot because I cannot read my story. So, there we are. You have to get your carrots in order. Oh, let's put a feather in there too. Why not? He is getting so silly. That is just not going to work. Let's just put this feather here. There we are. Okay, I will get back on track. We have to have our feather totems. Okay, where were we? So, he decided that the sign must have been put there for another reason. He thought to himself. I know. It must be a villa that is for sale. That's the reason for that sign. And for a long time, he had been thinking that he would buy himself a small house outside of the city because outside of the city was less noisy. And he thought, well, naturally, he would not live there all the time. He would just go there now and again to rest. And he thought, in a small town, there would also be much more time for people to notice how fine and distinguished I am, because I will lord about the town feeling fancy. So he decided to go and have a look at Villa Vellicula right away. So, all he had to do was follow the direction of the arrow, and he drove to the edge of town, and there he came to a broken down gate, and written on the sign in crayon, it said, Villa Vellicula. He got out of his car, and inside the gate was an overgrown garden with old trees covered with moss and grasses and lawns not cut and lots of flowers that had been allowed to grow wherever they chose. And at the end of the garden was a house. What a house! It looked as if it would fall to pieces any minute, and the fine and dandy gentleman stared at it. And all of a sudden, he noticed on the veranda or the porch, there was a horse. You remember the porch horse? There was a horse standing there staring at him. And on the steps of the porch sat 3 small children. And the one in the middle had 2 red pigtails sticking straight out. And on her shoulder sat a monkey. Well, the fine gentleman was puzzled. He must have the wrong house. This was not a fancy villa. Surely no one would think there was the possibility of selling such a tumble-down shack. Because remember, he thinks that Villa Vellicula is for sale. He made that up himself. So he called out, excuse me, children, is this miserable? Oh, maybe he's a bit more fancy than that. Let me give him a fancier voice and a bit deeper.
Oh, listen, children. Is this miserable hovel really Villa Vellicula?
And the girl in the middle got up, came to the gate, and just stood and stared at him with her head on one side. And Tommy and Annika, we know them, they came with her. And all 3 children just stared at this fine and dandy and not particularly polite man. He said,
Lost your tongue? Is this shack Villa Vellicula?
He asked again. And Pippi said, let me think about that, she said, frowning. It isn't a museum, and it certainly is not the cemetery. Oh, now I have it. Yes, this is Villa Vellicula. And the man said,
Don't be so rude.
And he opened the rickety gate and he walked past the children up to the house. And he said, well, I could, of course, tear this house down and build another one immediately. And Pippi said, skipping around and around as he went up the path, yes, okay, let's start right away. And she ran up to the porch and she ripped one of the boards clean off and just held it up in the air. But the fine and dandy gentleman, he paid her no attention. He was not interested in children, and besides, now he had something on his mind. He thought, the garden, yes, it's rather wild, but it could be pleasant and attractive in the sunshine. And if I build a new house, it will have lawns and paths raked and flowers neatly placed where they ought to be, and it could be a place that a very fine gentleman could live. He decided that he was going to buy Villa Vellicula. He looked around trying to think of more ways to improve the place. Of course, the old moss-covered trees would have to go. What else was he going to do? Then he glared sourly at the gnarled oak. Oh no, with the tremendous trunk and its branches that arched over Villa Vellicula. And he said, well, I'll definitely cut that one down. And Annika suddenly said, oh, Pippi, no, did you hear what that grumpy man just said. But Pippi was unconcerned, and she just carried on skipping around on the path. And she said, "Oh yes, you can think what you like." And she paid him no attention. And he said,
"Well, yes, I'll chop down that rotten old oak."
And Annika stretched her hands out towards him pleadingly. "Oh, it's such a wonderful tree to climb, and it's hollow, so we can play in it."
"Nonsense," said the man. "I don't climb trees. You ought to know that. I am a very fine gentleman. I do not climb trees."
And then Tommy said, Oh, but please, that tree, it grows soda and chocolate on Thursdays.
"Now listen here," said the grumpy, fine and dandy man. "I think you kids have been sitting in the sun too long, and everything seems to be going around and around and around in your heads. I'm going to buy this place, and I have no time for children, so you better tell me where I can find the owner."
Pippi, he said, "Don't you hear what he..." Oh, sorry, let me repeat that. This is Tommy says, "Pippi, don't you hear what he's saying? Why don't you do something?" said Pippi. "Why don't I do something? Here I am, skipping for all I'm worth. And you tell me to do something? Gosh, skip yourself and see how easy you find it." She walked over to the fine gentleman and she said, "Well, my name is Pippi Longstocking," she said, "and this is Tommy and Annika." She pointed to her friends. "Is there anything we can do for you? Tear down a house or two, chop down a tree or three, or anything else that needs to be changed, you just say the word." And that's where I'm going to stop, because I have to cut our stories in half. So don't go away. I'll be right back.